What's up, Africa? I've got a question for you guys. How do you deport an African immigrant to a country they're not actually a resident of? Just change their nationality. Simple. But that's a breach of human rights and probably pretty racist. I can hear you crazy lefties saying. Of course not. You see, until recently, Israel was unable to deport its Sudanese migrants back to Sudan because it didn't have a repatriation agreement with Khartoum. So rather than get caught up in all that human rights red tape nonsense, Israel simply changed the law so that they can now deport their Sudanese migrants to the brand new country, South Sudan. Come on, what's the difference, guys? Tomato, tomato, potato, potato, Sudan, South Sudan.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday praised the move. His government says this is just the start of ongoing expulsions. They will continue to arrest and bus Africans to the airport.
Besides, how could Israel ever be accused of being unwelcome to migrants or worse still, racism? You see, Israel, or more specifically South Tel Aviv, is a veritable African migrant utopia.
They called it a demonstration of hate. Hundreds of Israelis taking to the streets of South Tel Aviv, shouting, "Sudanese, go home."
Except for those demonstrations of hate. Yeah, they're not so cool. News front pages this week were covered with pictures of one man, Julius Malema, who's just been charged by a South African court with money laundering. But it's not the charge that interests me. It's the relationship between Malema and South African President Jacob Zuma that I find rather interesting. In 2005, Jacob Zuma was charged with corruption. He denied the charges and said there was a political conspiracy against him. And after sloppy prosecution work, the charges were eventually dropped. But now, 12 years later, Julius Malema, controversial ex-leader of the youth wing of South Africa's ANC and the ex-protege turned nemesis of Jacob Zuma, is also charged with corruption. Also denies the allegations, saying that he's the victim of a political witch hunt, and the prosecution against him is once again making errors. Bizarre twist of fate? Or is it the work of the Force? You see what I'm getting at here?
Help me take this mask off.
Yes, Malema is the Skywalker to Zuma's Vader! Will Julius Malema get caught up in the South African justice system for years to come, eventually emerging more powerful than ever and ultimately become president of South Africa? Let's hope not. So you know those great age and body swap films like Freaky Friday, Big, Vice Versa, and my personal favorite 17 Again, featuring acting powerhouse Zac Efron? Well, South Africa now has its own version called Copposites. A corrupt white cop and a black crook change bodies and have to work together to switch back. The film looks kind of rubbish, but its theme song by crackpot Realist featuring Nasi and Trenton is kinda nice. The track's called To Be a Black Man. You know what time it is? It's time for personal people doing awesome shit. And this week's title, as voted for by the What's Up Africa Facebook fans, goes to the makers of Nairobi Half-Life, a film that just got put forward as the Kenyan entry for the Oscars in the category Best Foreign Language Film. Makers of Nairobi Half-Life, including director David Tosh Gitonga, you are personal people doing awesome shit. And I'm done. My name's Ikenna Azuike. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're not already following me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, you're missing out. So get involved, and I'll see you again next week for another crack-a-lackin' episode of What's Up Africa?
Oh my gosh, how frustrating. We obsessed with this whole race thing. Who cares who I'm